My name is Chris Waterhouse. Welcome to this webinar. We're going to focus on packaging sustainability, linked to your business success, why it's crucial for the future growth, and that a failure to embrace may adversely affect how you conduct business in the longer term. I'm going to try and highlight the importance of engagement with the challenges of pack sustainability, develop a strategy, and add value to your business and create ongoing success using the packaging as one of the vehicles that can demonstrate and articulate the benefits of sustainable thinking. After all, packaging gets an awful lot of bad press, and I think it's incumbent on us to try and redress that balance. So what we're going to be looking at this afternoon is sustainability. What does it mean? Is it just about eco? Is it just about turtles in the ocean with plastics, Blue Planet, all that kind of stuff? We'll look at some businesses that didn't innovate, what we might take from those examples, and some early ideas, how we start doing things differently, how we start thinking differently. Some final wrap-up points, and a little bit more about IDI Pack at the end, but I won't take the bulk of the webinar with that. So, Albert Einstein, we cannot solve a problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So he very clearly points it at the door of us. Anyway, so what we'll look at now, if this works. No, I think we're struggling a little bit with the keyboard. But anyway, okay, some quick definitions on sustainability. There's two types of sustainability as far as we're concerned. One is the ability to maintain a certain rate or level of growth, the sustainability of economic growth, so it's economics, business economics. And secondly, it's about the avoidance and depletion of natural resources. That's what people focus on sustainability. However, we see it as a combined thing. We're dealing with businesses, and we're trying to do is bring the two together in the packaging context, take the whole debate to an interesting and hopefully a coherent point as we move through this in the next couple of seminars as well. So, different things to different people. Just what is it? So, there's business, new products, innovation, creating growth. You know, Apple are clearly fine examples as are the mobile phone developers. I've just got my new mobile phone today. Not going to be working yet, mind you, but there you go. Always the next model, maybe a 6-month life. And what about the toy and game market? You know, the next superhero, the next fad. To some, it's all about materials that are collected, recycled. Lot to learn there, and clearly, maybe in India, we're not picking up too much. In the UK yesterday, big story on mainstream radio 2 about why can't the government get coherence in its strategy. Different schemes in every borough, but Coke, as always, are always trying to lead the way in this particular field. With talk of localized recycling and bringing the bottles back, that kind of stuff. And finally is all the eco, the bio stuff, biodegradable, logos and all those sorts of things. But is it maybe a bit of a fabrication sometimes? You know, compostable. Yeah, compostable, garden or industrial, very different things. Does the infrastructure exist? And it all gets back to governments and their approach in terms of infrastructure. So recycled paper. Who talks about the bleach? About the bleach to clean the waste materials, the diesel transport back to plants, all that kind of stuff. And so it goes on. You know, there's a myth around a lot of the recyclability, but it shows the power of publicity and social media, and I'll come on to that in a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit the start of a knee-jerk approach that we're seeing currently with particularly in the UK, with the UK government. So, a little bit of history, some stats about innovation, and how we can bring it through into the business sustainability story. So, Fortune 500 in the US. Okay. So, as I say, I'm having a few keyboard issues here. Okay, so from 1955 to 1994, in the Fortune 500 in the US, only 153 firms were in the register in those two periods, which suggests there was 347 new firms, evolving firms. That's about 8.5 firms per year. Looking a little bit later, 95 to 2016, there's 188, so it sounds like it's bigger, but actually it's a shorter period of time. There was 14.2 new firms per year. Now that is all about the rate of attrition. is increasing, the changes are accelerating, innovation is the absolute watchword of survival. So innovate to survive and bring that together with sustainability. That's the business sustainability piece. Learn from history, look to the future. We can't predict the future, but of course we can look at the bigger picture and start to influence it. And that's so, so important. Okay, so business sustainability that maybe wasn't delivered. Okay, so we have in the UK a company called Woolworths, and in the US. We then had Polaroid, of course. Didn't see the mobile phones come through in the digital revolution. That was pretty incredible. And Kodak, film versus pixels. Blockbuster. In last week, they announced that from a peak of 4,000 stores in 2004, just 14 years ago, there is only one Blockbuster store. But of course, that's getting lots of visits now. Lots and lots of visits, largely because the tourists are looking at the store as a heritage brand. How incredible is that? So they're firms that didn't look properly at it. But importantly, how does your sustainability strategy and how it affects your business reflect your ambitions and goals? Does it articulate the story that you'd like to share outside in the public domain? Clearly that affects, the drinking straws and how social media can beat you or praise you. Look how coffee cups attracted so much attention about 12 months ago through, in the UK particularly, Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall, campaign against Costa and Starbucks and all the other guys, or David Attenborough with the Blue Planet. And look how Facebook and the LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff, the social media has affected the approach to it. And how much activity has been spawned out of that, the bandwagons that are being jumped on, government policy being developed based on social media. And how scary is that? And I think it's important from a business perspective, in the corporate world, evidence of sustainability strategy, goal set, progress made and articulated through corporate reports all pitches you as a progressive, socially aware and important company, looking to be attractive to investors, partners, those you trade with directly as well. Now it's important, by getting this togetherness with those guys, you're influencing the narrative, proactive approach, and that is so, so important to leverage the benefits from innovation initiatives. And if you get this strategy right, you demonstrate your MPD experience, expertise, you link it with sustainability practices, you can enjoy being regarded as a leader in your sector, be acknowledged on key industry indices that the investors are looking at. And then, of course, it starts to lead into how your business develops. So the strategies have to be aligned. Ambitions have to be for the long term. Setting those goals, sustainability goals, realising future benefits, the success will not land overnight. Sadly, governments doesn't see things like that, typically encouraging what we would all call something like the knee-jerk approach. The waste epidemic from government, the knee-jerk. Maybe that was driven from something about China not accepting the rest of the world waste from the beginning of the year. And the definition of knee-jerk? An automatic and unthinking response. Wouldn't it be great if there was some strategy behind the votes rather than vote grabbing and quick sound bites? The likely arguments you're going to face in the business strategy or leadership favours quick financial wins, and we can do that as well, rather than a long-term focus. But resources into attaining the annual target setting of procurement goals or focused and coherent development. The coherent development is the most important piece. By creating this sound planning, demonstrable and accountable milestones of the sustainability goals, we support decision making. Are you truly set up for success? How do we take that forward? Okay, so sustainability strategy in business should complement and support its sustainability strategy. And contradictions in intent could be a disaster. We don't want to develop poor packaging decisions as a concept, or packaging concepts and solutions as a consequence. The packs in market, you lose control over the communication. Social media affects it, and they love to stir up trouble. So, what are we going to do about that? The key is we can work in both ways. From productivity, cost, sustainability, they are all complementary. And the best strategies are aligned with the overarching business philosophy. Could we be doing better? How do we record that? Is it embedded in MPD? Lived and breathed and supported, influenced in decision making. It's interesting how a different view and approach can deliver excellent benefits when one gets the alignment. We recently worked on a project combining sustainability goals with the technical level of evaluation. We've created some massive benefits. Something like 2.3 tons of packaging per million packs. Now it sounds relatively trivial in terms of a total tonnage, but the reality of it is they're a very large company, a multinational. And 2.3 tons, and they do pack much more than 1 million packs a year. That's many tens of tons, into the hundreds of tons in fact. And by adopting a process, a sensible process, building that with your strategy, it takes the business forward, and that's the sort of thing that ends up in corporate reports and creates benefit for the much maligned and arguably despised packaging groups on occasions, despite our importance. Of course, you'd expect me to say that. So really, what can be done? Get the best advice, independent, expert. Of course, we'd clearly like to say that that would mean talk to us, but that would be a little bit unfair. We would like you to talk to us, but there are many other folks as well. So the important thing as well is, in a recent report, which did a check and discovered that 29% of packs are largely expected to go to landfill from supermarkets. Is it ignorance because of that? Is it the infrastructure, lack of infrastructure? Is it poor material choices at the packaging development stage? All of them together create that. There isn't a golden bullet for this. It's a combination. That's why coherence is key. Putting the strategies together from government, from manufacturers to developers. Putting it all together and get some advice. Reliable, worthwhile advice and support. Okay, so some sources of materials. The source of place you can get that kind of material is everywhere. Hundreds of sources, everything from global through to NGOs. Looking at the global systems, we've got UN Sustainability Development Goals in 2030, we've got Environmental Investigations Agency, we've got the Europe at a European level, we've got the EU, we've got businesses, we've got agencies providing all sorts of support in all sorts of areas. European, EU plastic strategy. There's in the UK, there's the RAP, the UK Plastics Pact, British Plastics Federation, and of course you've got the film associations, packaging societies, marine guys in the NGO. There's lots of reports, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, all focusing on these kinds of things. But importantly and interestingly, a lot of this is about plastics. Again, it's all part of the knee-jerk that we're seeing from governments, from society as a whole. And that is not always the case. There are lots of sustainability things we can do with plastics as well as other materials. So, cost-effective and sustainable packaging solutions. And I think it's so important as well at this point just to say that it's not just about the cost of the components, it's about the total cost of the packaging. What is cost-effective? Is it cheap on a per unit basis? Total cost in the supply chain, of course, with respect to recycle profile as well. So, the sorts of things we might see the compostable type materials, or what people would say is that, using waste, using bagasse, using sugar beet waste, paper pulps, and those sorts of things. We use different materials perhaps. You know, glass. Are laminates better than glass? I don't know. Depends on who you talk to be honest. Is glass recyclable? Everyone would say of course it is. But is it fully recycled or is it reused? My understanding is that a lot in the UK now is going for landfill lining. So is that recycling? I don't think so. It's reuse and deals with all the council and the boroughs that are dealing with mass in terms of how much they recycle or reuse and collect. But what about aluminiums? What about all the other materials that we can use? Corrugate, largely recycling it. But the cost to recycle, the bleaching, the diesel to shift the stuff around the country, energy to redevelop the recycle eco-option. Everyone thinks paper is better, recycled paper is better. But actually, if you draw the system differently, we can play around. And that's where the education is so important. You know, monomaterials is a key piece of all this. Looking at things differently is clearly hugely important. Or indeed, we could use create secondary use of packaging. Is that a help or a hindrance? I mean, there's one example, and it's a kind of a little bit of a funny one to be honest, but Heineken many years ago developed a brick shape. It never really took off, to be fair, to allow the building of houses. So builds walls, that kind of stuff. Only a couple of issues though. The first thing is, it'd take years to drink this much beer and collect the bottles for one house. You'd get pretty expert at it, but it's a lot of beer. Secondly, it's glass, and it was targeted at the warmer regions of the world, the Africas, creating a huge greenhouse effect. It's bad enough as those of you living in the UK at the moment. It's crazy hot for UK anyway. At least it hasn't rained in the last 2 weeks. So it's a bit like putting it into Africa in the summer. It doesn't bear thinking about the amount of heat that was generating those houses. But of course, you could always drink more beer and build an extension. So that'd be good news, wouldn't it? So better examples might utilise the packaging, using corrugate as a secondary use item for computer stands, those sorts of things, using it for a coat hanger. Those sorts of things. It's a change in design mindset. It's not reuse. It's not recycle. It's reuse of the components. Get something for nothing. And there's so many other opportunities around this. And then, of course, adding another small piece of packaging perhaps delivers a secondary use. Always Coke as well, come to the forefront here. Thinking outside the box, adding a new item to create a useful and different and an item that can be used in the home. In this case, it's various pumps, it's for soaps, it's various other things. Why you'd leave the Coke value, the labelling on, I don't know, but there you go. They're the images. So really important in terms of a design perspective. And another approach, refillables, concentrates, flexible packs, laminates and so forth. So by looking at these sorts of things, we've got the concentrates used in the food area. These sorts of things have been around for a little while now, but moving away from a large PET pack into a very, very tiny pack leads an awful long way. Sounding approach, but the flexible packs, of course, that sounds good, sounds great, but maybe the laminates don't, there's less waste in principle, but you're moving from a glass container to a laminate. Surely the glass would be a better option as well. So refilling perhaps, using those sorts of things, these sorts of things that we've got here. This is a refill container with a small concentrate, fill the bottle up. And in terms of all the other materials, we've got all these sorts of papers and recycled compost, coconut fibre. The key piece is it's all stuff that can be used, but you know what? It has to be the whole total cost of ownership has to be built in. And at that point, we have a bit of a problem because some of it is coming from different parts of the world. It's all about changing habits. At the end of the day, plastic bags and those sorts of things don't jump in the oceans. To coin a phrase, refilling from the tap is good. Maybe water bottles that are castigated would not be used. They disappear. Coffee drunk out of China cup rather than paper laminates. We used to have the solutions. Behaviours change, industry delivers. So it's not the industry. We've got to focus on consumers and changing their habits and giving them the opportunity that allows them to deliver the change that we would desire from them. So let's take a little bit of a breath here. A lot of information out there. It's certainly not going to be a boring exercise. The current packs perform fantastically well in most cases, and it's been developed over many, many moons. And often packaging is the brand. I mean, look at the Pringles. It's eponymous with the product itself, and it's sometimes difficult to recycle. Look at Pringles again. It's a laminate in a tube, metal, all sorts. But it's consumer understanding. Do they want smashed up Pringles? The infrastructure that goes with it, the incentives to deliver the packs to the right places at the right times. And what we get, as we saw earlier, a third of supermarket packaging actually is not great. If you see that your current packs fall short of sustainable ideals, then you have a great opportunity to reimagine the presentation, the structure, indeed the supply chain models for your intended consumer base. Turn the challenges into opportunities. At the end of the day, Albert Einstein said, as we said earlier, if we look at the changes differently, we can use sensible approaches. We can't solve a problem by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And that's where innovation kicks in. The sustainability strategy within your business. What are the possible rewards from a business perspective? The brand presence. Be known for your green credentials. We can develop that. Social media will then leverage the great stuff that you're doing in there, and it will hopefully give you better pack performance. There's lots of approaches that give us this chance to revisit what we're doing and create that consumer awareness, the awareness that shows the brand in a good way, green credentials. And it improves retailer support, improves industrial recognition, it gives a competitive advantage. To use the social media hashtag winning, it's got to be the way forward, really. Being a leader, people will follow, and it gives you what you need. We can support you with this process. Ensure material selections and fitness for purpose are married to designs for sustainable and competitive advantage. Get in touch and we can get you started in the right way, hopefully today, to be honest. You've got to do something. So if you want your business to end up like Woolworths, Blockbuster, Polaroid, Kodak, or so many others, talk to us, review, build, or benchmark strategy. Tune in over the coming weeks. We'll work to contact you and speak with you and rerun the webinar if you'd like, with a focus on your particular discussion, particular area of concern. Understand the opportunity for sustainability strategy and the benefits that can come from that. As I gave you the example earlier, we've developed a whole process which allows us to define packaging processes, define packaging specifications, that allows us to give characterize the materials to deliver a far better and improved option in terms of the packaging. That links the business, it's a cost saving thing, it links the business to lightweighting. All those sorts of things, great time to have a coffee, discuss them and talk about them. We're happy to run the event, this as a company specific thing if you'd like to, we'll come and meet you at one of the events we're doing. Just very quickly, as a business, what do we do as a business? We're a packaging supply chain consultancy. We're based in Petersfield. We've been around for over 10 years now, have industry experience, breadth of awareness, delivering winning designs and strategies. We believe that solving product and supply chain challenges has to be through effective design, pragmatically engineered approaches, and supply chain solutions. It's all combined, it all comes together, and that's how we can lead with sustainability and business together. From what we do for our clients, we provide them practical expertise, specialist support, expertise that provides them with a wider perspective, addressing current and future challenges, delivering pragmatically engineered solutions. So it's the packaging and supply chain coming together to create solutions, understanding and delivering those. So some just small examples of clients we work with, hugely important, hugely demanding, working in lots of different areas. So for us, it's understanding and judge us as a business what the company we keep. But I don't want to drag on about this. Thank you for your kind attention. We're approaching the end now. We do have a couple of questions. Okay, we've got a Guillaume from France, near Paris apparently. Do we have any tangible examples to deliver sustainable change in businesses? Of course, the answer has to be yes. We deliver a number of initiatives now. One was about refillable containers in agrochemicals, slightly larger than domestic versions, but the same sorts of issues. Recycling, migration, how do we reuse, lots of issues, cleaning. The second example was the development of a performance-defined packaging process, which I mentioned earlier. We developed the process, creates packaging savings without affecting performance of the packs. It's a stepwise approach we adopt, delivers significant savings we've found, reduction in cost, improved manufacturing, improved flexibility, reduced material uses. All those things are business positive. All those things are sustainability positive. It's part of a strategy that we've been developing and moving forward with our client base. The next question we have is from Jack in the UK, North UK. What's your view on refillable packs in supermarkets? Do you see it as a developing approach that would work? Okay. The Body Shop have tried it in the past in the UK. Not so great. Still, I'm not sure if it still works. I'm not sure the Body Shop really exists anymore, to be honest. Asda also tried it with detergents, which I'm much more familiar with, to be honest. A very limited uptake. It was driven by the take-up was all about how do you get the consumer to bring in the container back into the store. Actually, it was a flexible container, refillable with a nozzle. The problem with its behaviours, how do you drive that behaviour? It's a little bit in the UK and various other places in the world about shopping bags. If you start to have to pay for a shopping bag to carry your groceries home, you will start to bring the bag back. Maybe it's a little bit about that. Maybe it's human behaviour. So, yes, there are examples. To be honest as well, they tend to be a bit dirty in terms of leakage and those sorts of things. It can be managed, but it does tend to leak a little bit. And consumers, they like a new pack. that's what we found in that particular program. Okay, so just to wrap up then, as we get towards the 2 o'clock mark in the UK here, third of our spring series, it'll be available on the website. If there's any subjects you'd like us to cover, please feel free to reach out. Our details are there. My phone is there, LinkedIn and all those sorts of good things. We'll put it on the website, as I say, under www.idipack.com/webinars. You better pick it up later, share it with your colleagues, and we would be more than happy to have a more detailed discussion with the content of this. Follow us on Twitter. The next one is in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I can't remember the exact date, to be honest. But we'll be sending out a mailing on that and publicising it on Twitter and LinkedIn. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of the day. And I really appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Thanks a lot for your time. Cheers. Goodbye.